Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. This is live stream 908. If you're not overly familiar with this show, let me point out, super casual around here, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then normally we'll take a look at a game. Every once in a while I'll do a live review, but for the most part, the majority of the time, it is a first look at a game. And we are going to keep rocking on with the Witcher week here on the Dispatch, as I will be diving on into a book of tales. For a second, I almost said a tome of tales, and I know that's not the title of it. It is a book of tales for the Witcher pen and paper role-playing game from our Talsorian Games. And we will be diving on in to take a peek in just a bit. So I do want to mention, if you're not overly familiar with the Gaming Gang Dispatch, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So if you are tuning in because you want to take a peek at a book of tales, let me point out it's probably going to be about 35 minutes before we jump on into the first look. So if you're watching live, put your feet up, relax, take it easy, enjoy the latest news, because I've got a cool mix of news tonight. But I should also point out, if you are watching this 30 minutes or more after the show ends, there are show notes. So if you are impatient and you just gotta get into that first look, you can always use those timestamps and jump past the gaming news of the day. Although, if you are a gamer, you may want to watch the news because there's cool stuff. Of course, those show notes, I should say those timestamps, wow, I'm already discombobulated. I'm what, 3 minutes into the stream? Those timestamps might actually be in the timeline of the video right in front of you. So there is that. It all depends on what device you happen to be using to watch the show. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel, such as reviews from Sammy and Michael, because they are written reviews. So you miss out on those reviews. In fact, I've got I want to say it's a Warhammer Fantasy Age of Sigmar Soulbound review from Michael that'll be going up on Thursday. So I want to say, I think it's Champions of Death, if I remember correctly. So stay tuned. It's one of the Champions books, one of the two Champions books. That new review is going to be up there. So once again, you miss out if you never visit thegaminggang.com. Lastly, because this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Plus, you also have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, maybe there's something in a book of tales you want a closer look at, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight in chat is Chuck Terrell, followed by the Motor City Madman himself. Yes, the Madman, one of our chat moderators, is with us as well, as is Roger Prudhomme. Flaming Huron is with us from across the pond. He is also another of our chat moderators. Good to see Mel Winius from York hanging with us as well. It's been a while since we've seen Mel Winius. So that is what we've got cooking in chat to get the night off and running. So without further ado, let's jump on into the news, because this May is going to see the release of what looks to be an interesting science fantasy game, Tribes of the Wind. And here's the scoop from Hachette Games. In a post-apocalyptic world, the Tribes of the Wind are going to rebuild the world on the polluted ruins from the past. Players will have to plant forests, build new villages and temples, and decontaminate surrounding areas. They will be able to play cards from their hand, but be careful. The effect or even the possibility of playing the card may vary depending on the back of your surrounding opponent's cards. Players may also send their wind riders to explore an area, plant forests, or build villages and temples using all their gathered resources. As the game progresses, you strive to complete objectives that will allow you to unlock your guide's special abilities and improve your tribe's powers. When someone builds their 5th village, the game is over. Or at least the end is triggered. The player with the most points, depending on pollution, villages, temples, layout of their forests, and other various objectives, wins. Tribes of the Wind is for 2 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 40 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $49.99. You can pre-order this right now from Hachette Board Games, and it is planned to release in late May. I thought this sounded kind of interesting, and it's got a pretty cool art style as well. This is from a French company. Off the top of my head, I don't recall the name of it. It is not Sorry We're French. I know Sorry We're French has some games that have been released here in North America through Hachette. It is not them. It is Belle Jude Desjardins, or it's I butcher English, so of course, I'm not going to be able to pronounce a French company like that. But this does look pretty cool. And I got to say, Hachette has been releasing a good number of board games. They're starting to become a relatively major player as far as the board game scene. Speaking of board games, let's move on to my next news piece, because making its way into stores this month is Distilled. Here's the latest from Paverson Games. Distilled is a highly thematic strategy card game about crafting spirits in a distillery with resource management and push your luck elements. In the game, you have inherited a distillery and are hoping to someday achieve the title of Master Distiller through purchasing goods, building up your distillery, and creating the world's most renowned spirits. Inherit your distillery from one of 18 different distillers from around the world, while you strive to craft any of the 15 unique international spirits like whiskey, rum, baijiu, gin, and tequila. Use cards to purchase new ingredients, and invest in upgrades to your distillery, all while eventually distilling the spirit and sending it to the warehouse. Once in the warehouse, age your spirit to enhance its flavor and bottle it to sell it for major profits. Build up your distillery with upgrades, features, specialists working in the industry, and innovative equipment that will create efficiencies in your process. Achieve the title of Master Distiller by having the most victory points at the end of the game. Points are obtained by distilling and selling spirits. Distilled is for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 30 minutes per player. It's going to carry an MSRP of $89.99 when it arrives late this month. I got to say, this looks kind of cool. This does look pretty cool. And as someone who used to sling drinks, I had some friends who would have probably been very, very interested in this game. I get a kick out of one of the cards. It's up right now. It's in the center. It's a celebrity promotion. I thought that was kind of funny. Oh, is it like George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds? So Roger says on the box for Tribes of the Wind, it says, Le Boy de Jeu, I'm sure I mispronounced that, translates to the Box of Games. So yes, that is the French company that has designed that, and it is releasing through Hachette. Whereas this is from Paverson Games, and once again, this is arriving in late April. On to some role-playing game news. Late May is going to see the release of the Old Gods of Appalachia role-playing game. I got the details from Monte Cook Games. The things that once slumbered in the hills and hollers, beneath the earth and beyond the eye, have begun to wake. They stir and breathe. They see you and know your innermost heart, those long dark tunnels of pain and sorrow and secrets. They call to you in voices deep and dark, voices ancient and unknowable, voices full of pain and promises, and no way to tell between the two. Come to us, these voices say. We have only just begun. What, like the Carpenters? The Old Gods of Appalachia role-playing game is a complete standalone tabletop role-playing game driven by the Cypher system, the popular, critically acclaimed game engine, lauded for its elegance, ease of use, flexibility, and narrative focus. Intuitive character creation, fast-paced gameplay, and a uniquely GM-friendly design make the Cypher system perfect for the world of Old Gods of Appalachia and a joy to run and play. Cypher system characters are built from the concept up. A descriptive sentence provides not just an easily understood overview of the character, but also a mechanical basis for skills, abilities, and stats. And the Cypher system gives players amazing narrative engagement, rewarding player-driven subplots and giving players resources to bear on the tasks and situations they most want to succeed at. The hardcover core book of the Old Gods of Appalachia role-playing game arrives May 31st. It's going to carry an MSRP of $69.99. So this was a very successful Kickstarter. I got to say, 70 bones for a role-playing game that's based on a podcast? I don't know. Seems a little pricey to me. Seeing that if you think about it, if you remember Invisible Sun, which was that huge cube that came with like all these cards and things like that. If I remember correctly, that MSRP on that was $100. I thought it was $99.99. Again, maybe that was just for the PDF. Don't know. I gotta say, I'd be interested in checking this out. I did try to give the Old Gods of Appalachia podcast a listen when this was kickstarting. So I was like, hey, that sounds pretty interesting. I just couldn't get into it. And I don't know if it was simply because I started at the beginning. And of course, a lot of times podcasts, take a little bit of time to get their feet. But one of the things that kind of turned me off was like every 2 minutes, they were asking you for money. It was like, oh, our Patreon and buy t-shirts. And I was like, how about telling us a spooky story? But I kind of got the impression that they had gone back with the earlier episodes of the podcast and added in that stuff. So I don't know. Coco B is with us in chat. 70 bones. Is it Monte Cook Games? So Kevin says, that sounds low. I think the minimum buy-in for the Kickstarter was $200. Kevin loved all their teasers for it. It was really excited. And then said, too rich for my blood. I think Kevin's talking about Invisible Sun. So yes, there's Flaming Huron chiming in, says, yes, it was $99 for the PDF. And they got it in a bundle and it was still not cheap. Kathy Evans is hanging with the gang tonight. Welcome, Kathy. You know, it was kind of funny because I remember at Gen Con, I had an opportunity it was the Gen Con I actually interviewed Monte Cook. I had an opportunity to take a peek at what was in that big cube. And I will admit, it was pretty impressive. But it was like, to me, it was kind of like, wow, this is like overkill. This would kind of scare some people off, especially with the hundreds upon hundreds of cards that came with it. But I am not trying to dissuade anybody from checking this out. It's striking me as being very interesting. If it didn't, I wouldn't be sharing a news piece. And I shared a news piece when it was on Kickstarter too. So this looks pretty cool. I'd be very interested in taking a peek. Moving right along. After a bit of a delay, Crypt of the Devil Lich for Dungeon Crawl Classics and 5e is making its way into stores for Goodman Games. Here's the deets. Goodman Games is proud to announce the re-release of one of its most cherished Dungeon Crawl classics, The Crypt of the Devil Lich. Updated and converted for both 5e and the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game rule sets. This classic death trap dungeon was inspired by the dreaded Tomb of Horrors, which, unfortunately, I am not a fan of Tomb of Horrors. I've mentioned that before. But that's okay. I know a lot of people love it. I know people wear t-shirts that say, I survived Tomb of Horrors. I thought that's kind of funny. The heroes are sent into the Devil Lich's crypt to destroy her before she can return to power as foreseen in a prophecy. However, the unknowing heroes have actually been tricked into entering her crypt to free her from her prison. Spoilers! If they are truly heroes, they will uncover the deception and defeat the evil Devil Lich before she can unleash her dark designs on the surface world. This adventure module is a 5th edition conversion of the classic dungeon module DCC 13, The Crypt of the Devil Lich, originally published in 2004 by Goodman Games. The Crypt of the Devil Lich was truly a unique design and homage as the classic meat grinder style trap-filled dungeons popular in the late 70s and early 80s. The adventure is designed for a group of 4 to 6 15th level characters. The original adventure was designed for the 2004 first annual Gen Con Dungeon Crawl Classics Team Tournament, a tradition that continues today. Although in 2004 it would have been D&D, not Dungeon Crawl Classics. With some effort on the GM's part, the adventure can easily be used for campaign play. So, this hardcover features Smythe Sewing, There is a detailed introduction chapter including notes on how to adjust the adventure for higher or lower levels, using it during campaign play, notes on how to run the adventure as a team tournament, and the devilish backstory of the Devil Lich and her dark machinations. There are 3 fully developed levels of the crypt in the rule system of your choice, 5e or DCC. There's all new interior artwork and cartography, as well as dozens of player handouts in the tradition of the classic modules Tomb of Horrors and Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. I always loved those handouts from the Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. There are also 6 fully developed pre-generated player characters based on the original tournament player characters. And it also includes the original team tournament scoring system. Both flavors of the 170-page tale are now available in hardcover, and it includes a PDF if you order from Goodman Games for an MSRP of $40 for your favorite flavor, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. Once again, your choice, 5e or DCC. So yay! This, I think, was supposed to come out in February, but there was a few delays. So this is supposed to be out in stores this week, is what I understand. And kind of cool. Kind of cool. So, unfortunately, don't think I'm going to get an opportunity to take a peek at this. So, we do know that supposedly Dying Earth is in transit for me to check out from Goodman Games. So, I'm sure they're, want to dip their toes into the gaming gang before they, commit. So, Kevin was asking, was that $70 for the PDF of the Old Gods of Appalachia? No, that was for the physical book. I don't think it is out in PDF yet. I'm pretty sure it has not arrived in PDF. At least it was something that I didn't happen to run across. Christopher Rush is popping on in to say hello. Can't hang out and chat, but they are watching. Well, welcome. And Kabuki Kid is in the house. Good to see Double K hanging with the gang tonight. All right, moving right along. Let's go on to my final news piece. There was some discussion about this yesterday, and I had mentioned that I had this slated for tomorrow's show, but I swapped things around because there is a new edition of Basic Role Playing, which has arrived, at least in PDF, from Chaosium Inc. And here's the latest on Basic Role-Playing Universal Game Engine. Create, Explore, Play. Basic Role-Playing, BRP, is a system of core rules for tabletop role-playing. Whether you're a seasoned role-playing veteran or new to the hobby, Basic Role-Playing has everything you need for years of entertainment. Basic Role-Playing Universal Game Engine is the complete guide to BRP, the same system that powers Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest, Rivers of London, and countless others. BRP's Universal Engine is available royalty-free for personal and commercial use under the ORC license. That's right. The time of the ORC has arrived. Use these rules and focus on creating your worlds, scenarios, and even books to sell. This book contains the core system rules, as well as character creation, advancement, monsters, and antagonists, as well as game master advice. In BRP, success and failure are always determined by the roll of a D100. Comparing that roll to the relevant skill, characteristic, ability, or power, you succeed if you roll under the target number. This means every stat on your character sheet clearly indicates to you the likelihood of success. Characters in a BRP game evolve based on what they do in-game. If you fire a gun, that skill may increase. If you want your character to learn magic, get better at driving cars, lassoing horses, or even repairing a spaceship, then your character will do so by using those skills. The core BRP rules present easy to learn and equally easy to teach combat mechanics that allow players to react to attacks. You don't just have to wait for your turn in order to have an impact on combat. Conflict in BRP can be deadly in every role. Attacking, fighting back, dodging, or otherwise is integral. This makes for a thrilling, high-octane experience with a system that does not slow down the overall flow of play. With mechanics for magic, psychic powers, mutations, superpowers, weapons, equipment, and vehicles applicable to any setting and genre, Basic Role-Playing Universal Game Engine is adaptable to any world of your choosing, either previously established or created from scratch. Right now, the 264-page PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. Yes. Kevin says it'll be interesting to see if this edition of BRP has more than the edition they gave away during the open game license debacle that it didn't have. So Kevin also points out, interesting, they released it under the ORC when the ORC hasn't been finalized. I thought it had been finalized by Paizo in the last day or two. I thought. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. I thought I saw something through the grapevine as far as that goes. So I would definitely be interested in checking this out. I will reach out to Chaosium once this is going to be available in print to take a peek at. So what I would be very, very curious about is if we're going to see third-party publishers tackle genre books for BRP. I'm curious. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's come out over the years from Chaosium that's no longer in print, but I do believe is available in PDF. Like Superworld would be one. I think it was Dream Park was another. So there have been a variety of role-playing games that have come out that were based on D100. Now, back in the day when they had Superworld and things like that, they didn't refer to it as BRP. It was just, you know, kind of their house system at Chaosium. But I'd be kind of curious, because I know that's one of the things that Chaosium is looking to do is have support from third-party publishers and outside creators. So that'd be kind of cool. So we shall see. We shall see. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild or, say, Storyteller's Vault, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, besides giving it a thumbs up, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on over to paypal.me/ the gaming gang and making a small donation. And big thank you to the Madman and Marcus George for recently making not so small donations through paypal.me. Thank you very, very much. And thanks to everybody out there who does use the banner ads or visits I guess I should say, visits paypal.me/thegaminggang. Alrighty. So we are going to be diving on in for a first look at The Witcher, A Book of Tales in a few moments. Three things I want to tackle real quick before we jump on into that. And of course, we'll have a brief intermission prior to that as well. But first thing I wanted to mention, a fan of the Gaming Gang, of the show, the videos, the channel, probably the website as well, has offered to send along the box set of Castles and Crusades A series. I think it's the A series of adventures. They ended up with an extra copy. So Stephen Loudermilk reached out and said, "Hey, Jeff, I know I watched an episode. You were talking about how you'd love to check out some of the adventures for Castles and Crusades." Said, they're like, "I've got an extra box set." They're like, "Be happy to send it to you." So I was like, "Sure, of course, sweet." So we might actually be getting an opportunity to check that out. And the thing is, I think it's a box set that has like 7 adventures in it. So it's like 7 modules that are packed into the box. I don't know. I don't think they sell it anymore. So I wouldn't know. So we shall see. We shall see with that. So I thought that was very, very cool. Also, should mention that I've had some comments that I've ended up deleting from people who are like, "Oh, I hate how you ask for money in your show." It's like, really? I do like an hour 15, hour and a half, and I spend 60 seconds talking about DriveThruRPG and PayPal.me, and you've got a problem with that? So to those folks, I just got to say, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. It's like, give me a break. I guarantee they sit there and they watch videos of people who constantly are asking for money. It's like, I do it once a show. Give me a break. Speaking of, Madman says the donations come from his entertainment budget, and he feels it is well worth it. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you don't feel like you're just throwing away money. So, Kabuki Kid says maybe they don't like the Wilkins coffee ads. Well, then I hope they enjoy life in communist Russia. Because if you don't like the Wilkins coffee ads, you got something wrong with you. So, last thing I do want to mention too is kind of a bummer. So I was getting ready on every other Thursday was going to be game night, and I was looking to run a fantasy role-playing game campaign for my nephew and his friends, and my brother was maybe going to take part, and my niece was maybe going to take part, but it was mainly going to be for my nephew and his friends. And of course, now my nephew's work schedule has changed. So he no longer has Thursdays off. So now he has Monday through Wednesday off. He's like, "Well, can't we play games then?" And I'm like, "Cam, I do shows Monday through Wednesday." Like, no. So that kind of sucks. Because I really want to run some stuff. Kevin asks, is talking about donations and affiliate links really more annoying than showing for a sponsor for at least 5 minutes per show? Which reminds me, today's episode is brought to you by Stamps.com. Mike S. is hanging out in chat. Welcome, Mike. Mike says, Castles and Crusades is some great stuff. Well, you may have seen my recent video where I talk about why you should play Castles and Crusades. So, very nice. Very nice. Flaming Heron says they think a great deal of companies are going to end up using Orc. Well, from my understanding, Orc is going to cover a lot of systems. So, as far as I know, that's going to be the case. Just like Cubicle 7 Entertainment announced, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I didn't do a news piece because I usually like to do news pieces about stuff you can like get or take part in or something like that. But they announced that they're actually working on a D20 game system. And when it comes out, it's going to also have what, Broken Weave and their Unforgettable Journeys or something like that. The 5e supplement that they kickstarted, it's not out yet, but it's to like make your journeying in D&D much more entertaining. So those are going to be for it. According to Cubicle 7 Entertainment, they're going to have 7 books, Cubicle 7 books that will all be part of their system. And they're calling it right now, it's not the official name, but they're, I guess, calling it in-house C7D20. So we know it's a D20-based system. Yes. Flaming Heron says, yeah, Jeff, that 20 seconds of shilling. Well, Flaming Heron didn't say shilling. I threw that in. Madman says, last they checked, he's not banning anybody he doesn't donate. No. Kevin says they're pretty sure Kobold's Tales of the Valiant, I saw the logo, looks pretty cool, is going to be released under the Orc, but I don't think they've specified that yet. I thought I had heard that too, that was their game plan. So I should reach out to Wolfgang and see if he wants to do an interview talking about Tales of the Valiant. Mike says, 7 books? Hope I don't need all of them to run a game. That'd be a pain in my wallet. No, as far as I understand, it'll be 2. It's going to be 2 core books for Cubicle 7's D20 system. So there'll be a player's book and a game master's book. So that's what I am hearing. So Kevin says, or they should say their core fantasy role-playing rules, since that's what they're calling their SRD content. And we already discussed, Troll Lord Games is going to have a new print run of their core books for Castles and Crusades, and they're going to remove anything that has anything to do with the SRD. And I hear 2 different things. I've heard they're going to keep those AD&D homage covers. And then I've also heard that they're going to have all new artwork. So I don't know. There are a couple of commenters. I want to say, I think it's in on the Why You Should Play CNC video, where one says, no, they're sticking with those homage covers. And then there's another commenter that says, no, this is the artist who's going to be doing the new artwork. So I don't know. I got to say, I think we are in a great age for role-playing games. That is for sure. Although, unfortunately, I'm not able to run any. I'm almost tempted to go online on my Facebook account and just post something and see if, any of my friends locally would be interested in playing. Serious. I mean, I would even consider running stuff for strangers. See, the thing is, the problem I have with the virtual tabletop is I just do not have the time to invest into adventure creation and stuff like that for a virtual tabletop. I don't have the time to get to learn all the nuts and bolts, say, about Foundry, which I think is very, very cool. It's my favorite virtual tabletop that I've seen. I don't have that kind of time and prep adventures. I just don't, because, you know, I don't know. I've got other commitments, right? So if you donate, then I could hire somebody to do all the prep work for me. Flaming Huron says, just get them to the table under false pretenses and lock the door. They'll never see it coming. Yeah, I'll be like, hey, I got some free gummies. Anybody want to come over and have some free gummies? Ha, psych! There's no marijuana. It's all role-playing. Alrighty. So Madman says, hey, if they lived closer, they'd be all in. Yes, Detroit's a bit of a trip. So once again, tonight I am going to be diving on into a book of tales for the Witcher pen and paper role-playing game. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Over there.
Over where?
Over there.
Over here?
No, over there.
Over there.
The warehouse is in danger, the goodies we must save. All officers report at once, the situation's grave. Go get them, boys, for goodness sake. The culprits must be stopped. We'll make the scene with our siren, get a soda pop and pop. Aha! The guilty ones are trapped, we've not performed our mission. But the climax isn't kept until we have an intermission.
Charlie's Place. You can use an electric sign. Charlie, set up the stag beer. Oh, business is off to nothing. No jukebox, no service. Charlie, let's make it lively here with some stag. Shh, shh. Leaky radiators. Oh, they'll ruin business every time. Put down that menu, sir, and join me in a refreshing stag beer. Oh, there's nothing like stag brew to refresh you through and through. Charlie, you better get out here with some more stag, or you...
Shh, quiet, please.
Oh, don't whisper, gal. Speak up. Where's the stag?
Stag may be found under wildlife.
Oh, yay. Oh, that is a corker. Go ahead, sir. Drink up. And the next time you look for complete refreshment, look for stag beer. Yeah.
Did you drink your Wilkins coffee this morning?
Of course not.
Okay. That boy's got a long way to go.
Fascination, Rento's fascination. Fascination, the race to light the tower. Roll the balls and roll them fast. Hurry, hurry, don't be last. Fascination, Rento's fascination. What a fast and fascinating game.
Each player gets two completely different mazes. The first one to get through the maze with all three balls lights up the tower. It's fast. It's Fascination by Remco.
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again. I had to chuckle because as that was playing, I said that out loud. And as I said that out loud, Kabuki Kid and Flaming Huron both wrote in chat, oh, Magoo, you've done it again. And I'm like, zoinks. So I'm not sure how well those of you hanging out in chat remember Mr. Magoo cartoons. Now, I remember when he was like a spokesman for Canfield's soda. And it was like, barkeep, Canfield's for everyone. But I think for some reason I seem to recall in the cartoons, most of the cartoons, he had an Asian valet or something who was always kind of like on the back end of his screw ups, right? There was always Magoo comes out unscathed, but his valet, whatever, his manservant, would always get, effed up. And I think one of the reasons why you never see Mr. Magoo cartoons anymore is they were probably not very politically correct. So, for some reason, I just seem to remember that. And like I said, a Mr. Magoo cartoon, I probably haven't seen a Mr. Magoo cartoon in 40 years, maybe even longer than that, outside of the 2 commercials I've shared. Yes, as the Madman points out, it was Jim Backus, also played Mr. Howell on Gilligan's Island. So we have Nero's Fiddle joining us again in chat. So thank you very much for swinging on in. There you go. Kabuki Kid saying it's Charlie. That was it. Charlie was his Asian assistant, whatever. And Kabuki Kid says, yeah, Charlie was a bit of a stereotype. Yep. So Kevin says they forgot about the Asian valet, but there's also the whole ableism thing. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Kabuki Kid says he'd call him Mr. McGlue. Yeah. Now it's starting to come back. It's starting to come back to me. I have to admit, I used to go to, don't worry. We'll jump into the first look in a second here. I remember going to like second run theaters, third run theaters, because they were all over Chicago. In fact, my best friend Elliot and I were talking about this when we were up at GaryCon. We were trying to name all the theaters that we could remember going to, and I think we were at like 20. And I remember sometimes we would see cartoons, either Mr. Magoo or the Pink Panther. And the funny thing is, I always liked the Mr. Magoo ones better than the Pink Panther cartoons. Sarah D is with us. So we've got 3 of our chat moderators hanging around. So Sarah D says Wikipedia labels Charlie as a houseboy. It's Magoo's boy toy, huh? Did not know Mr. Magoo swung that way. Okay, all right. So Kevin says, not surprising, the Chinese houseboy was kind of a trope. Well, just like, remember, oh my gosh, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Excellent movie. Really, really good movie. Except for the Mickey Rooney part. It's just, even years ago when I first saw it, I cringed at his Asian shtick. It was like, oh my God, just awful. Just awful. All righty, so tonight I am going to dive on in to take a first look at The Witcher pen and paper role-playing game, A Book of Tales. It's written by James Hutt, Linda Evans. Wow, from Dallas? Oh, no, that'd be Dynasty. Yes, I didn't watch those shows. So they're all like the same show to me. I'm sure it's not that. Linda Evans, obviously enough. Sarah Thompson and Cody Ponsmith. This 178-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $30, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $15. So Kevin says Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol is probably the only one they would show today because there are no jokes about his vision problem. So Kabuki Kid says yes. Good movie ruined by the Mickey Rooney character. That's for sure. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got a book of tales. Do want to mention the fine folks over at our Talsorian Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. So these days, it's important for you to know that. Also, we're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to get a good feel for what's in a book of tales. And obviously enough, this is an adventure compendium. So if you are a player, hoping that your game master is going to run The Witcher, or they are running The Witcher, you might want to tune out. Because even though I know nothing about what's in this book, we are going to be flipping through, and I'm sure there are going to be some spoilers that we will encounter. So there we go. Kabuki Kid says, and razzleberry dressing. Tiny Tim. I know I've seen the Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, but once again, it's been decades, I am certain. All right, so taking a look at the back here. Adventure across the world of The Witcher, uncovering its secrets, slaying its monsters, and bringing its stories to life. As entirely truthful, I should say, as entirely truthfully recollected by the famed bard Dandelion. In this book, you'll travel from the cold mountains of Kovir to the wine-soaked region of Tossant in Nilfgaard, meeting interesting characters along the way with intrigue around every corner. Book of Tales is a supplement for the Witcher pen and paper role-playing game, which gives you 6 adventures that span the continent, complete with new monsters, player content, and maps compiled into a larger campaign. Sweet. So as we were taking a look at a Witcher's journal yesterday, I had to say that I was very impressed, really liked the artwork overall. I thought it was really well done as far as the art. So we've got a lot of illustrators for this book as well. So let's see what we've got. Greetings, Game Master, and welcome to Book of Tales, the first adventure book for the Witcher tabletop role-playing game. This is an expansion to the Witcher core book, which you can also need to play. This book contains 6 dark fantasy adventures to run with your group, complete with new monsters, helpful maps, and illustrations to bring the continent to life for your group. So we've got combat difficulty and adventure complexity, which, remember, I had mentioned that when we were taking a look at a Witcher's journal yesterday, that some people have felt that the core system for The Witcher is a bit complex. There is an easy mode that is available as a PDF that you can get your hands on, and it kind of streamlines some aspects of the game itself. So it says the difficulty of combat encounters in these adventures are tuned for groups of 4 players. These 6 adventures can be played as a larger campaign. To do so, start your party with Underneath the Ice in the northernmost point of the continent in Kovir and Povis. Remember, I'm not familiar with the world of The Witcher, so I'm sure I'm mispronouncing all these places, all these names. Remember, they're not real. Don't get bent out of shape. Okay, so Underneath the Ice, that's actually, I like that artwork. Even though, I mean, it's not nothing really going on. And I think that's pretty cool. I'm assuming that's supposed to be probably an inn. So, background. It's our read aloud. Way up north in the mountains of Kovir and Povis, the wind whips whirls of powdered white as it blows across the snow drifts that bank your neat, magically cleared path. Perched on a ridge above you is an imposing stone structure gleaming in the afternoon sun, which you know to be High Watch, home apparent to the High Mountain Society of Sorceresses. You know this because you've been summoned to solve a nebulous, urgent matter by one of these sorceresses by the name of Louise Van Adelaide. Judging by her note, she seemed rather upset, so tread lightly. Flaming Heron says, mispronouncing fictional places. How dare you, Jeff? Kabuki Kid keeps unsubbing. She's not happy with this show. Quantum Phase Dragon is hanging with us tonight. Good to see you. Flaming Heron asks, hey, did you resub just to unsub? That's dedication. So the rest of the story, how much rest of the story do we have here? Well, we got a little bit. Louise's crisis is one of party planning, the delay of a critical natural ice shipment meant for a recruitment party for sorceress alumni of Aretusa, which takes place in 7 days. Seriously? She's pissed off that she can't get ice for the drinks? All right. Okay. So we get a breakdown of the setting, what the opposition is going to be. We get a setup. We get the hook. So the Witcher tabletop role-playing game is kind of scene-based. It's one of those kind of games. It's not just, complete sandbox or anything like that. So we got the Beast of Lake Tancred. It's like an ice frog. So that's kind of what it looks like, a giant ice frog. So as you can see, and we saw this in A Witcher's Journal last night, that we get our stat blocks, and then we get a breakdown of the tactics the creature or NPCs will utilize. So I thought that was pretty cool. We get our NPCs. So as you can see, our NPCs aren't just a bunch of stats. So here it's showing the spells that she knows, rituals, hexes, and extra skills. So that's actually very interesting because a lot of times you'll find that when you're running a role-playing game as a game master, most of the stats don't matter. I mean, if the stats aren't coming into play for whatever that NPC or creature, monster, whatever is being used for in your story, you don't need it. So I think that's kind of cool how we got that. So here it looks like we've got various different maps of the locations in that adventure. And then we've got in the Alderwood. That one was fairly short. Like that adventure was fairly short. Now, I do know, because we just saw it on the back of the book, there is player-facing info in here. So there's more options. I think there's more races that they're going to play. So Mike says, I guess some people are serious about their ice. Just using the snow outside isn't good enough, apparently. I guess not for their cocktails. I'm guessing, I think that is really what she's upset about, is they're not getting a natural ice shipment. So, Quantum Phase Dragon is asking, do people watch the show? They heard Chris Hemsworth was going to take over. That's my understanding. My understanding is Superman's gone. So, you know, it's funny. I like him. I think he's fine. He's going to be doing a Warhammer 40K show, supposedly for, I think it's for Amazon. So, Melwinius says first season was okay-ish. Cavill carried it. Yeah, I was going to say, I watched the first season of The Witcher. I was like, it's all right. I haven't watched the second season. It was like, it was okay. I wasn't clamoring to watch it, so. All right, let's see what we got going on here. There's a funny thing about traveling across Cadwin. It always happens that somewhere near the middle of your journey, the rugged countryside seems to stretch out before your eyes, yawning toward the horizon. It's no wonder those of magical means prefer to teleport across Cadwin whenever possible. At least, you are never more than a day's journey from another tiny, sleepy village with a rundown alehouse. This morning you passed through one named Saints Crossing. This one's name is Riverbend. That's the name of the village, not the alehouse. You aren't sure of the name of the alehouse at the moment. But here you find yourself thankful that you can't get food poisoning from beer. You can get sick from beer. And enough of it makes you forgive the rustic accommodations for another night. So, the priest, Tabert, prays for the arrival of a capable party of travelers, or perhaps even a witcher to arrive. His flock thins in numbers of late, and he hears similar stories from two nearby settlements, the Bartok Barrow Company's mining operation and the merchants of Saints Crossing. Without exception, all three communities share a paranoid hatred for one another. Aha. From their villages, those missing seem to be exclusively adolescents. Well, so Magilla Gorilla is joining us in chat. I believe this is a first-time visit for Magilla Gorilla. The Kabuki Kid asks, how much is that gorilla in the window? All right, so something is stealing the kids, the adolescents. And I guess the three various locations are blaming each other. So we do have some new monsters in that are actually being introduced in the adventures. So they are runaways. And we've got our maps. That's kind of interesting. How we've got just these little maps set aside. The Weary Traveler. That must be the alehouse in Riverbend. So Flaming Heron says, hello, Magilla Gorilla. Okay, something I never thought I would ever type. Stone cold lies. So I know Magilla asked a question, I think. So let me jump back here. Oh, saying the Witcher books are fantastic. Yeah, they look really good. They look very cool. So Magilla Gorilla says, I thought it was a fun name. Like the cartoon. Okay, so with this adventure, news of the upcoming Mahekam Ale Festival reaches far and wide. An epic dwarven party hosted in Mount Carbon, the famously secretive heart of the Mahakaman Mountains. The festival promises the curious and the dedicated drinker alike an unforgettable experience. The weight of expectation hangs over the head of the renowned spiky chief elder, Bruverhoog, who will soon throw open the doors of Mahakam to revelers, doors which normally stay firmly closed. So a few days before the players arrived in town, there was an attempted heist at Mount Carbon. two thieves try to make away with Cursetter's hammer, one of the artifacts important to the toasting of the fallen. Well, well, well. So the thieves were not successful, it looks like, but it appears that they're probably going to make another attempt to steal it. There you go. There's a female dwarf for you, beard and all. I was going to kick out of fantasy settings where just, by just looking at them, you can't tell the difference between male or female dwarves. They look exactly the same. Dressed, of course. So we get a breakdown of different goings on. We've got some cliffhangers. Here's our big party. So it is kind of cool that we also have a little section in each of these adventures talking about, well, if you're using this as part of the campaign, and I think each of the adventures kind of starts off that way as well. So now here we've got an NPC where we get a full stat block. So we get everything for them here. That's kind of interesting. Because the other NPCs, we were just getting to see just like the spells for the magic users, the sorceresses. Here it says, female dwarves must have beards. I'm looking at you, Rings of Power. Well, you're one of the only ones looking at Rings of Power. I read something where, I guess, of course, Amazon hasn't confirmed this, but there were a lot of people who did not finish watching Rings of Power. So I'll be honest, I watched 2 episodes. That was it. I didn't really have anything against it because I don't get bent out of shape about stuff. And why wouldn't there be, various different colored halflings and dwarves and humans and things like that? I mean, come on. I just didn't find it very engaging. I was sort of like, weren't any characters I was like, oh, well, yeah. Okay, so the one elf who goes to investigate, and I'm not talking about Galadriel, the male elf who goes to investigate the disease or whatever, that seemed like an interesting storyline, and he seemed like an interesting character. But yeah, the rest of it was sort of like, all right, what did we just... Where's the adventure here? What do we start off with? See, now this one looks pretty long. There we go. Murder in Maribor. The fires of war are a terrible thing, scorching all they touch, casting soot to conceal even the blackest of sins. Temeria smolders still from the army of Nilfgaard, which prepares to lay siege to Vizima, a mere 200 miles to the north. You arrive in the city of Maribor a week into the occupation of its new Nilfgaardian masters. The stench of death permeates the city, wafting from its sewers, stagnating in the still air of the streets. You came here to do a job, and it isn't a clean one either. So the cult of the lion-headed spider, that's interesting, indeed murders people in Maribor on a weekly basis. But they are not responsible for the deaths of the Nilfgaardian officers, which I guess is going to be our main story point here. Okie doke. This does look like this is a bit longer adventure. Kabuki Kid says, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power took a while to get going. Yeah, usually I'll give a show 2, sometimes 3 episodes to grab my attention. And by that point, if it hasn't, I'm sure I'll go back and check it out. But like I said, it wasn't something that was like pissing me off, but it also wasn't something where I was like, oh wow, can't wait till the next episode comes out. Right? Like Last of Us. Right, so we've got some cultists, it looks like. So one aspect I can say about the way these maps are laid out is you can easily use these maps for other things too. So I would have liked to have seen a little more detail though. These are kind of bland. So McGillis says, it's an interesting show, but as a fan of the Tolkien books, it didn't click with the canon. Yeah, I know. A lot of people commented about that. Here we go. Enter the fighting pits. What are you, battling a sloth? That's what it looks like. Kabuki Kid says, yep, Last of Us was engrossing. So was the game. So was the video game. So, I swear that's what it looks like. It looks like it's a sloth standing there on its hind legs. So, Kevin says they couldn't stick too closely to the canon because they didn't have rights to use Silmarillion. Right. They only had the rights, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but they only had the rights to use what's in the appendices of The Lord of the Rings. So as far as I understand, that was what they were given approval for, or what they licensed. All right, so let's see what we got. What is going on with this adventure? Traveling through the south of the continent is a contained, organized sort of chaos. Though less war-riddled than the unstable north, the south is still in a state of upheaval. The once bright and abundant banners of numerous family crests replaced by the uniform golden sun on a black silk field. Between the battlefield swamped with blood, ravenous necrophages, and, or as I think it was Flaming Heron pointed out last night, necrophages, and roads swarm with refugees and cowed deserters. The Nilfgaardian soldiers occupy every wayward stop from village to city, whether wanted or not. The Nilfgaardian Empire now truly holds these lands, and nowhere is it clearer than in Ebbing, especially Claremont, where you now find yourselves headed. And where there are Nilfgaardians, there are frivolities to be found. A rich faction of nobles called the Katakans has decided to host an extravagant open variety tournament in the city of Claremont, famous for its arena, previously owned by Dominic Bombastus Halvenig. So it looks like this is a tournament adventure. So Melanie says, yeah, and Amazon really didn't even use what was in the appendices that much. So Madman points out they don't go in with any expectation or concern about being canon. Just take the shows and movies for what they are. Yeah, I kind of tend to do that as well. Although, I mean, when you go see, say, the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd, and 10 minutes into the movie, he takes his helmet off, you're like, whoa, wait, what? Hold on a second. That's a problem. So Flaming Heron says their only problem with paying no respect to canon is, then why make it? It could be any fantasy movie or show. He's that way with any book that changes plot for reasons. Right, so it looks like we got some rules about some different contests. Oh, aardvark fighting. So that was an aardvark. Oh, it looked like a sloth to me. Rules of wrestling. So it looks like we have a variety of different rounds in this tournament. And then we get a big bad looking monster, a Giga Scorpion. Nice. So we get artisans. The Katakans. I think we got one adventure to go. Yeah, this one's pretty long. Looks like we've got quite a few different NPCs as well in this. And then I think this is our final adventure. Kabuki Kid says, yeah, they were happy in the Carl Urban Dread movie when he never removed his helmet. I thought that was a fairly decent Judge Dredd flick. I thought it was all right. I know he wanted to make another one. So deep in the heart of Nilfgaard, or perhaps its liver, more precisely, lies Toussaint, one of the Empire's many vassal duchies. The lifeblood of the land flows in shades of crisp Chardonnay and Scarlet Rouge. Knights in suits of plate armor gallivant around the duchy's gently curving roads like a tipsy fairy tale, their horses draped in vibrant barding to match the flamboyant colors of their riders. So there is a monster holding someone prisoner. So that is what's going on in this adventure. So I just saw the spoiler there. I won't share that. So we've got our little cliffhangers. Oh, yes, that's a pretty short adventure. And here we've got our important NPCs. And we get the Panther, which well, we already had a stat block for the Panther in A Witcher's Journal, because I remember this artwork. I know the artwork's in it. The Maiden Surrounded by Butterflies, which is the name of the adventure. And then we've got our maps. We have compiled content. Aha, so here we go. Got new spells. Looks like we got some new skills, new equipment. So we have gnomes. Vran, who are lizard folk. And werbubs. Werbubs are among the less humanoid elder races to be nearly destroyed by the landing of the exiles many centuries ago. Much like their Vran counterparts, werbubs lived in the lowland valleys and mountainous foothills of the continent, practicing age-old traditions. They almost look like hedgehogs. And there's Dandelion, slayer of dragons and ladies. So Flaming Heron says, Judge Dredd never removing his helmet makes more sense than the Mandalorian never moving his. Flaming Heron says, I think Pedro Pascal is preferring playing Joel. I've been hearing some odd stuff about the Mandalorian. I don't know what's true, what's not. But I've heard that he's been a problem on set, which I don't know if that's the case. You know how those things go. But just like you see all these articles online, all these clickbaity articles online talking about how, oh, the Mandalorian's jumped the shark now. Now the Mandalorian sucks. Though I will point out, I've only watched the first 2 episodes of this season. So, anyway, so that is The Witcher pen and paper role-playing game, A Book of Tales from our Talsorian Games. This 178-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $30. You can grab just the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $15. Nice. Of course, I will have a review of this in the not so distant future. So there you have it. Now, keep in mind, tomorrow we are going to be wrapping up The Witcher Week with a look at A Tome of Chaos, which is kind of a magic supplement for The Witcher. I believe this is the most recent of the releases for the Witcher role-playing game. So we will be taking a peek at this on tomorrow's show. Sweet. All right. So also should mention, I mentioned this yesterday. Next week, we'll be taking a look at the Player's Handbook for Achtung Cthulhu 2D20, as well as the Game Master's Guide to Achtung Cthulhu, as well as we'll probably sneak a peek at this when we take a look at the Player's Handbook, the Assault on the Führer Train adventure that the fine folks for at Modifius Entertainment were kind enough to send along. I gotta be honest, I am not sure if we're gonna see Dying Earth from Goodman Games, before next week. So if it shows up, that's gonna be probably on Monday's show. If not, we're gonna take a look at Destinies from Lucky Duck Games. So we got goodies to take a peek at. That is for sure. All right. So if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of Votes for Women from Fort Circle Games. Yes, it is a card-driven historical game that tackles the topic of the suffrage movement in the United States from 1848 to 1920. Good stuff. I really do enjoy it, even though I've got some quibbles with it. But still think it's well worth adding to your collection, especially if you like historical games. Alrighty. So, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Those of you who watched live, thank you very much. Those of you who watched live and took part in chat, a much bigger thank you, because as you already know, you not only get to keep me company, you keep each other company as I babble on and mispronounce names of fictional places and people. But of course, I know not everybody gets an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I appreciate each and every one of you taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the channel. So I will be back tomorrow to wrap up the Witcher week. And here's hoping you enjoyed the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. And here's hoping each of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.